Hey, Jason Fladlin here, and welcome to the ASM4 Fast Track 8x times speed implementation guide. Now, there's only three things that we have to focus on here, which is kind of important for your own systems that you create yourself, that we reduce this down to something simple so we can manage it. I'm going to talk to you about what's the most important thing going in. I'm going to show you about the proactivity concept of what you need to be familiar with as you go along, and then we're going to break down specific implementation best practices and procedures. Let's start with what's most important here. Now, is it likely that you are going to be able to come out and right away put it out there and never encounter any single speed bump whatsoever in your ASM business? It's possible, but it's not very likely. Don't count on it, okay? So if we can anticipate the speed bumps in advance, we're in a much better position than if we say, oh man, I can't believe something came up that kind of bumped me a little bit, and well, oh my gosh, what should I do, right? So here's how you handle speed bumps. This is super duper instructive, just in anything, not just with ASM. So when you encounter a speed bump, like for example, let's say that you go and you contact a supplier and they sign off on the product and everything looks good, but then when they print the label, an issue occurs where the printing doesn't look that nice. A lot of people just like stop, which is the worst thing that you could do. They just like, oh my God, what should I do, right? Something like that could happen. And so what should you do instead? This is applicable to any speed bump that you're going to incur when you're doing anything in any business, right? Attempt to solve it immediately. So don't worry about the issue. Think instead not, oh man, why does this happen to me? Or, oh God, now I'm screwed kind of stuff, right? Instead, just think, what do I need to do to fix this? What do I need to do to move forward? That's always the question I ask myself. What do I need to do to keep moving forward? What do I need to do to keep moving forward, right? So attempt to solve it immediately. Don't just say, I don't know what to do. Just try anything, because that also just gets you moving forward. Then if you need help, because sometimes when you attempt to solve it, you do solve it. Then if you need help, here's what you do. So the Facebook group, the ASM Masters, is a wonderful place to go, but what you'll notice, and I gave this advice last time and nobody listened to it, but it's very helpful if you actually do listen to it, is when you ask for help, propose three possible solutions. So if you were to go to the Facebook group and say, hey, this happened to me, what should I do? And end it there, chances are you're not going to get very far, even if people give you really good responses. Instead, you say, this happened to me. What should I do? Here are three things that I'm considering doing to solve this problem. Being proactive, right? So when you ask for help, propose three possible solutions yourself. Usually just the exercise will prevent you from even having to ask for help. Because you'll sit down and say, okay, it's time to ask for help. So let me come up with three solutions to propose. And then you come up with those in your own head. And you say, oh, wow, I'm just going to do these three. And then if those don't work, then I'll ask for help, right? But simultaneously, this is what's really cool, is a lot of people, they ask for help and then they stop and they wait for an answer. No, you got to keep moving forward, right? So pursue the solutions that you have proposed while you're waiting for the answers. That's how we handle speed bumps. So what next, okay? The concept of good enough is super important. A lot of people do not have this concept down, so I think it makes sense for us to spend just a few minutes on this. Not even a few minutes, probably less than a minute. Get it going, then get it right. The worst you will ever be is the first time you do something. Then you get better, right? Get it going, then get it right. So don't worry about the small stuff. Always ask yourself, when you encounter something that can slow you down, you say, is this a big thing or is this a small thing? 99% of the times it's a small thing, so just pick anything at all and move forward with it. Get it going, then get it right. Here's the corollary to that. Making a decision right is easier than making the right decision. Oftentimes you will not know what to do. So a lot of people say, well, gee, I'll just educate myself and I'll study until I find out what to do. No, don't do that. That's what slows you down. Studying is like the least thing we want to be doing the most of. We want to be studying less and doing more. We barely want to study. We want to study as minimally as possible. And so oftentimes when you do anything, that gives you the data you need to correct whatever you've done to make it right. When you're first starting, you're just doing something and then you're optimizing it or fixing it or tweaking it or whatever, right? Keep in mind, when I taught in a sold ASM4, I broke it down into three phases. Phase number one is very simplistic. It's very low impact in terms of how good you need to be to make it work. So I give you permission to make mistakes just like I did here with the spelling. It wasn't that big of a deal, right? I just fixed it, boom, saw it in a moment and fixed it, right? We just need okay everything, an okay product with okay demand, with okay marketing, with an okay supplier, okay across the board. So if you go out there and screw around and try to make everything great, usually not going to make you as profitable if you just get everything okay. And then later on you can fix that stuff. Now you've already heard me talk about movement, but I just want to repeat it. As long as you're always moving forward, you will get there. A lot of people view ASM as a race when it's not. A race is if I win, you lose, right? No, ASM is a journey. I don't care how long it takes you to get there. As long as you get there, the journey will be worth it. But we can't get there if we stop moving forward. So as long as you're always moving forward, you will get there. I'll take somebody who picks a really bad product with a really bad supplier but gets it done in 2 weeks than somebody who spends 5 months finding the perfect supplier with the perfect product with the perfect blah, 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 right? Move forward. Always moving forward, you will get there. Another concept I want to talk about, non-linear. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to do this, then I'll do that. Then I'm going to do this, and then I'll do that. I understand the logical view on that. I don't agree with it, though, because a lot of this business stuff is non-linear. So, for example, you could write your product description before you ever even sourced your product. You could write your product description before you ever set up your Seller Central account, even. You could start promotion on a product that you haven't even private labeled yet. You can do all these things simultaneously too, by the way. So while you're waiting for a response from a supplier, then you could be setting up your Seller Central account. Or while your product is in transit to Amazon, you could already do some promotion in advance to get people excited for when it does arrive, right? Many things simultaneously out of supposed order is a recipe for fast success. Now, this is lastly important. All this is contextual. Not everybody should go fast. Some people will do better going normal, and some people will do better going slow. And so the way that I always looked at it is Jason, Wilson, Matson. Jason is the fast track people. We are the impatient personalities. We are the ones that can tolerate the unknown and do a million things simultaneously, and that's the only way we actually truly feel in our element, right? I am a certain personality type, and if you resonate with that personality type, then fast track all the way, right? Wilson is more of the methodical, steady approach. And so he keeps moving forward, but he's always covering his bases. He's always considering the possibilities, yet he still continues to move forward, right? The slow, I always joke, I call Matson and Morgan slow, because these guys are ultra conservative, and that works for them. They feel most comfortable moving forward in an ultra-conservative mode. Now, the key word is they're moving forward. They're still moving forward. They're always moving forward, right? Now, all three personality types can succeed. That's the wonderful thing about this business. So, fast track, if you say, oh my God, Jason, I can't even imagine going and listing products on Amazon without seeing a sample, which is stuff I've done in the past, right? Then maybe you don't want to fast track it. Fast tracking isn't required to be successful. It's considering certain contextual things, like the second one here, guarantee seekers. If you want to qualify for that guarantee, if you want absolute protection, go as fast as possible. Then you set the deck in your favor to qualify for that guarantee, and many people can. And so that's not an option for you. If you have your eyes set on the prize of the guarantee, then you're going to have to go fast. And you're just going to have to weigh that in consideration as, do I want to go fast? Do I want to go steady? Do I want to go slow? When you're making your decision of your overall approach. Now, I actually joke that people that consider themselves ultra slowpokes try the fast track approach. Why? Because they've always tried the other way in the past and it hasn't worked for them, and so let's try something completely radically different just to hopefully spur on some sort of change, right? So that's another consideration. A lot of people think financial situation dictates to go fast. They say, Jason, I need to go fast because I need to make money ASAP. Believe it or not, a more methodical, steady approach is probably better in general in that type of financial situation, because when you're going fast, you're sacrificing time, but you're usually paying a little bit more in money. And I mean, tangibly speaking, that's just like we're going to airship from China overnight our samples and our product to Amazon, right? Or it means like, whoops, I made a mistake because I was moving so fast, so I didn't check every little detail, and we got to go back and fix that, and it cost me a little extra money, right? So the financial situation, usually if money's tight, you're more likely to fix your financial situation by taking a steady approach. Again, though, it goes back, if you want the guarantee, we've set the condition up, we've made it possible for you, you will go fast, okay? So it's a consideration that you have to make in your final decision. And by the way, I've fast trackers versus steady approaches versus the slow approach, all of them succeed at a pretty much the same rate. So it really goes down to contextual cues and personality cues on that kind of stuff. Now let's talk about the next thing here. I call it proactivity. What does that mean? Here's what this means. The more you can empower yourself in advance, the better you will be. So this is something that's available to every single person in the world. It's the Seller Central forums. And so if you click on the link in that mind map, which you'll be provided, you're going to be taken to the Amazon Services seller forums. They're going to have general selling questions, help for new sellers, listing managements and reports, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I recommend during your downtime, you just peruse through here and look at different stuff. So if you have a question, go here first before anywhere else if it's related to anything Seller Central wise or Fulfillment by Amazon wise. So many answers can be found right here without ever having to ask anybody, just doing a simple search. So get in the mood of going here. Oftentimes, and I know this sounds silly, I'll just wake up in the morning and while my coffee's brewing, I'll read this for 10 minutes just to familiarize myself. This is an advantage to you because most people will never look at the Seller Central forums. They'll never read it even though it's widely available to them there. And so you win. You win because you take advantage of a resource that everybody could take advantage of that almost nobody else does. So many of your Seller Central related questions can be solved in less than a few minutes by just doing a search here and finding the answer to a question that's already been asked that you're also asking. The second thing here is the ASM Masters Members Portal. I want you to bookmark this URL. So when you go and log into the members portal, you can always come back here and you're going to have all kinds of stuff. The bonus access is going to be here with some information on some different resources, documents, training videos, so on and so forth. The bestseller matrix is here as well. So there's a lot of stuff here. So just be aware of every document. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to read them all. Just be aware of some of the stuff that's here. So if you're not sure of what the bestseller versus keyword rankings PDF is about, or if you're curious to say what's the difference between a keyword ranking and a bestseller ranking, read this. But if you already know the answer, you're not curious, don't read this, okay? If you haven't selected a product yet, you don't need to read pricing and profitability yet. However, when you do select a product, if you're concerned about profit margin, before you ask anywhere, read this document, right? If you're not going to China for your product, don't read this. It's as simple as that, okay? Only read the things that you need as you need them, but be familiar with them in advance. So just take a quick lay of the land, breeze through all this stuff to become familiar with it. The last thing here is the ASM Masters FB group. This is going to be pure pandemonium for the next few weeks because there's a lot of new members here, a lot of people posting stuff. It's going to get crazy. So be prepared to scroll. Secondly, this is a guide that I would recommend you immediately read if you do not know or are not familiar with Facebook groups. Just the crash course in this for you is this. Anything you post in here, in the ASM Masters, which is a group that you find over here, nobody outside this group will see it. So if your mom or your dad are friends with you on Facebook, they will not see anything you ever post in here. You might see other people on your news feed show up because you're both in the ASM Masters group and you're both friends, potentially, or you've interacted with each other, right? That's the only thing, okay? Now, files is the other important thing that you want to look at here. Is go to files, and there's all sorts of different files up here that you should consider looking at as well. And again, it's the same thing with the members area. Don't read it if it's not applicable to you right now. Be aware of it and go through it and understand it, but don't read it if it's not applicable to you. By the way, members can upload files if they have really cool stuff, and they often do, as you'll see there, right? Now on to the implementation. Implementation is actually pretty simple. I've even made it simpler than in the past. So you might have watched my quick start guide for ASM3. Take all that into consideration and then filter it through what I'm now recommending here in ASM4, which is just a slight tweak on the already in place approach. Really, at the end of the day, this is how it is. And it's really this simple. Pick a product, find a supplier, order the inventory and have it sent to Amazon, list your product on Amazon, and then promote it. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Everything falls under these 5 steps. Okay. Now again, this doesn't have to be linear because I could be promoting while I'm simultaneously picking a product, as we'll discuss here in a little bit. Let's start with picking a product though. How I sold you into ASM is very cool. I gave you a whole bunch of awesome information, more information for free to sell you into the course than most people ever can as a bonus for buying the course. So all that stuff applies. Low supply, high demand. This is the types of products that we want to pick from. How do we find low supply, high demand? There's a couple ways, but I'll just give you the simplest way possible. We go to Seller Central, we go to the bestseller matrix. And we pick any old category. I'll just pick a category here. And then what I'll do is plug in a number, and it doesn't really matter what number you plug in. If you see me do this, I always change numbers every time because I want different results every time. So just something lower than the max of 1200 rank. I usually put a price point about $15 to $40 or $50 depending on whatever category I'm looking at. Again, I just play with this constantly, spit out new results, and I click a search. There's a couple ways you can use this. One way that you can use this is long titles. So anytime I see a long title, I click on it. Why? Because it's probably an ASMer. Now people say, well, you don't want to play with ASMers, do you, Jason? It depends. If I can find a product with a listing page 1 with only 1 or 2 ASMers in there, here's what it does. It proves the model. Okay? It shows that the model works, and if they're not our ASMers, if they don't have access to our tools, then we have a significant advantage. Now, you might notice this, okay? So this is a vegetable slicer, and this is an ASMer. Obviously, why? Because it's got the long titles, the stars, and all that crap, right? They're selling okay, not super great, but okay. But you say, oh, this is a vegetable slicer, right? So let's take a look at this. Now, is this low supply, low demand? I will tell you because I already know the answer. It's not. Because here's how I know this. If we look at the search results here, ASMR probably super long title, right? Another ASMR with a super long title maybe. The way that you can find ASMRs, here's another one, right, is pretty simple. I'll give you the crash course in that. Really, really long titles, okay? Really long bullet points, usually with a 100% satisfaction guarantee listed. A product description, which this one doesn't have, with multiple colors and all that kind of junk. So let's see if we can find another one that shows this. This is another way to find it, where they've snuck in a full image here. So this is another example of an ASMR. And then let me find another one for you so you can see one hopefully with a super duper long product description with multiple colors and multiple fonts and all that kind of junk. Here's somebody else who snuck in an image. By the way, don't do that. I know it's tempting. It does not help conversions. So let's look at this one. Is this one an ASMR? They've also snuck in an image. Basically, everybody copies each other, which is stupid also. But notice this. This is a big green color, mixed fonts, bolds, all this kind of stuff. Probably an ASMR. I'll tell you another way you can find out. If you click on the name up here and they only have a couple products, that's probably an ASMR as well. So the telltale signs are this: long title, long bullet points, product description with an image snuck into it, and or different fonts, different colors. Another classic is, as they say, click the add to cart button in the product description, which I don't recommend that you do. Then that's usually an ASMR. And also, if they only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 products and they all look like ASME type of products, they're probably an ASMR. Now, I like for phase 1 products to maybe have 1 or 2 ASMRs on page 1 search results for the main keyword. If I see like 10, like the vegetable slicer, I will not go for it because it's too high of supply, right? High demand, but high supply. If it is 0 ASMRs, then I'm like, maybe I go into it, but maybe I don't. But then it's more about, is the bestseller rank under 1100-ish for at least 1 or 2 or 3 people that are on page 1 for that keyword. Then we also look at things like how many reviews are on page 1. Are there a lot or are there a little? So in this case, this is another one with high supply because all of these people here, I believe 80 is the highest number or the lowest number of reviews on page 1. So I don't like that. But sometimes we can find a possible unsaturated product. Like here's a bamboo cutting board. So again, this was a long title. Notice the money back guarantee in the title. That's usually an ASMR. If you look at the product description, which I don't see one here, interesting. And then sometimes you can look at, again, one product. So this is probably an ASMR. So what we'd want to know then is say, is it the only ASMR on page 1 for a bamboo cutting board, or one of two? And so we look at here, we can scroll down and you could do the analysis. Now here's what's interesting. This one has 0 reviews, right? So therefore, a brand new listing already on page 1. That's a good sign. Now, here's another one with 27, here's another one with 27, here's one with 7, here's one with 36. So you could argue and say that maybe this is a good product to potentially sell. I don't know, maybe. So one of the things I do is look for super long titles where there's only 1 or 2 or maybe 3 ASMRs on page 1, where there's 1 or 2 or 3 products with under 30 reviews typically. That's kind of the low supply, high demand way of doing it. That's not the only way of doing it, obviously. Other ways of doing it are just finding potential products on this listing here. Read through every product, and then you kind of look at these and you say stainless steel food jar, for example. And so here is a stainless steel food jar, which would be super easy to private label. This one's selling really good at $471. This is not an ASMR, but we could go back here and we could say stainless food jar. We could do a search. We could say who else is selling. How are they selling? Is there at least 2 or 3 people selling in the top 1,000 bestseller rank for their category in Amazon? This one has 8 reviews. That's it. So they're number 1 already. So can we compete? Here's another one with 31. That's not that many. 33, 39, 3. I like this product, right? Now we can find products like this every damn day of the week. And that's not the only way I teach to find products. And again, finding products is a high priority for you. Go through and familiarize yourselves with the resources that all talk about finding products, right? Now, here's another consideration, easiest to source. So let's take that stainless food jar. How easy is this to source? This is ridiculously easy to source. All it is just a freaking water bottle at the end of the day, slightly repurposed. So we can go over to Alibaba. I like to sort by gold supplier. Usually I start with the tightest net. On-site check, gold supplier, assess supplier, and see what I can find. Okay, and so we found a whole bunch here. How easy is this to source? It's ridiculously easy. The biggest consideration you have if you're going to China is what's the lead time? How quickly can I get it? Now, if you want a super duper fast track, here's what I'd recommend to you. For example, we might be able to find this exact same supplier, like if you look here, maybe already on page 1 on Amazon. There's one that's selling that's exactly the same. Maybe we find their supplier. Like maybe this is their supplier, right? So here's the cool thing. If they have 4.5-star reviews and we see 2 or 3 people with the same product from the same manufacturer, do we really need to see a sample? Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Maybe we already know the quality. Here's the other thing to know. If you get your first listing on there and you promote it and the quality isn't good, you can change the product manufacturer later, then go back and update your listing and say new and improved, or version 2 model, or blah blah blah, right? So those are just considerations. We want something with low supply, high demand that's easy to source. Profit margin. The best thing to do is to go into our members area under profit margin, and let me go back to there, and then read the guides along there. At the same time, go to Seller Central and find those as well that will help you calculate profitability. I usually like to price my thing that in the higher end of the market. So this one's 14, this one's 24, this is 11, this is 20, this is 19, 19, 16, 9, 19. They're all over the board. And here's the point of this. This one is $24, right? Do people buy it at $24? I know for a fact they do. And you can validate the fact that they buy it because they're selling probably 5, 10 units a day. Now, does that mean that somebody that's really, really ultra cheap, like this one, this $9 one, what's this BSR, bestseller rank? It's the same. So people are just as likely to buy a bamboo for $24 as they are for $9. What's the difference between these two? Sometimes there's no difference. Okay? Sometimes it's one extra piece. Sometimes there's literally zero difference. Some people will just buy at a higher price. So we don't concern what other people are. I like to sell at a higher price. So when I calculate profitability, I say, here's the ideal price I'll sell at, but here's the price I know I can sell at because the common product sells at that price. And even at the price I know I can sell it at, it's still a healthy profit margin. And then it's all cake if I could sell above that price. But here's the cool thing. We price high initially because if we make a mistake and overprice it, it takes all of a minute and a half to log into your Seller Central account and change your price and save it. Nobody arrests you and beats you in public and shames you if you overprice your product. Nobody buys it, or a few people buy it, and you tweak it and you change it. So that's simple. We start high. We err on the side of pricing it too high and then dialing it back down, then vice versa. Seasonal considerations. Like, for example, right now, in the sports and outdoors categories, you're going to notice like all this hunter stuff is getting hot. Here's what I mean by that. So if we actually look at the best sellers on Amazon, and we go into the top 100 here for sports and outdoors, you're going to notice there's going to be certain things that normally aren't here that are going to be on here. Just like gloves, for example, because it's getting cold in the United States, right? So a lot of gloves are starting to show up. You're going to notice a lot of the hunter and outdoors sportsman kind of stuff is going to show up here. So for example, like this saw blade is showing up, so usually not there. An insulated wide mouth bottle, a universal pistol magazine loader, and on and on and on. You're going to notice all kinds of stuff like this. It's seasonal. Does that mean it's bad? Not necessarily. Here's a rifle bore cleaner, right? Here's another one, a red dot sight for the gun. It's just seasonal. Seasonal is neither good nor bad. In the long run, we want more than one product, so if we can take advantage of an upcoming season, that's positive. If we're selling something in off-season, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. You just have to take that into consideration. Is this product seasonal or is it not seasonal? Now, here's some pitfalls that a lot of people have that slow them down tremendously when picking a product. They're emotionally invested in the product. So if you love hunting, don't do a hunting product. I'm telling you. If you hate hunting, you should probably do a hunting product. I'm somewhat kidding, but not really, because we want to approach a product selection from a completely logical point of view. We do not want to get emotionally tied up in the products. Products are a dime a dozen. I care less about the specific product. What I want to know is the demand high? Is the supply low? Is it easy to source? Am I taking advantage of the seasonal aspects of it, or is it non-seasonal? And can I get it going in a short amount of time and make money with it? Everything else is secondary. Do not care about anything else besides that. Okay? The biggest pitfall is finding the perfect product. Forget it. You're not in phase 3 yet, so don't act like it, right? Just pick an okay product from an okay manufacturer at an okay price point and get it listed on Amazon. I really think it boils down to commitment issues. You're just afraid to move forward because then that means you have to be more responsible with your business because it's more real. Hey, that's the deal. If that's like a mindset issue for you, figure out how to solve that, because forget it. You got to pick a product and move forward. And yes, it's scary and there's some sort of finality when you pick a product and move forward, right? But you got to if you want to succeed. So get over that whole fear. Finding a supplier. Here's the ideal formula. 3 by 3 by 3. And what does that mean? It's simple. 3 products from 3 suppliers with 3 samples each. It's a hard and fast rule. If you want to go faster, you can slightly modify it. But here's how I would modify it. More than 3 products from more than 3 suppliers with maybe 1 sample each, something along those lines, right? The worst number you can have in your ASM business when it comes to product opportunities is 1. So if you have multiple products to choose from, again, we're not emotionally invested in any one product. So I might pick 4 or 5 or 6 potential products to pursue private labeling. And 3 or 4 of them might die. What I mean is, one of them I might not find a supplier for that has an appropriate lead time or an appropriate source cost, right? I might find another one that looks kind of cool, but doesn't get back to me in time for the turnaround that I'm looking for. Like, they supposedly are sending me a sample that's 3 days and it takes 12 days, etc., right? And then I find another one that it looks all good, and then the moment it comes time to place the order, like, I don't hear from them again, or something weird like that, right? So usually if I pick 3 products, one of those 3, if I pursue all 3 and make it a race, which one's going to get there first? Whichever one gets there first is the one I'm going to go with, right? then I'm far more likely to be successful. And I say, well, let me try this one product and see what happens. And then if that doesn't pan out, let me try the second product and see what happens. And if that doesn't pan out, let me try this third. It's too slow that way, right? Even if you're not taking the fast track approach, I recommend you simultaneously try to source multiple products at once and then pick the one, not that you think is the most profitable, not that you think has the best opportunity, but the one that you can get listed on Amazon the fastest. Here's the deal. If you have a great product and it takes you another month or two to get it listed on there, great. That's your second product. So you can get that one going while you get your first product that's fast. Remember, phase one is just okay, right? So have multiple products to pick on the front end from multiple suppliers to choose from, because the thing is, I might even find one really good product, but I have suppliers that are all over the board. So I have one supplier that is charging too much. I have another supplier that takes too long to produce. And then I get one supplier that's reasonable and is okay, and I go with them, right? So multiple suppliers for multiple products is the truest way possible that you'll get going as fast as you can. That doesn't matter if you're going fast track or whatever speed you're going with. This is kind of the approach that you want to take. If you want to go to the United States, you are going to Google. Now again, follow along finding a supplier. This resource is incredible to you. If you want to go through to China, then this is the resource, the brief guide to sourcing from China, plus the files in the Facebook group, so on and so forth. Okay? Ordering the inventory. You can get samples, it's not required, but it's a consideration potentially. I still don't think it's necessary, but some people just feel comfortable getting it. Because the thing is, if I'm placing a small quantity initial order, I could always change the product later to a different version and just rebrand the product on that listing. But you can consider the quality of the product before you sign off on ordering it. Then you're going to get the design done. What I recommend is you simultaneously go to at least two places. So there's three places you can get a design from that I feel comfortable recommending. One is Fiverr.com, one is Odesk, and one is 99 Designs. I really like Fiverr and Odesk. So if I'm getting one label designed for one product, I'm going to hire 2 or 3 or potentially 4 people to design that label on Fiverr. Plus I'm going to hire 1 or 2 people at least on Odesk to get the design done. So I might have 4 or 5 people designing the same product, and then whatever one comes in first that I like is the one that I go with. Now, if I'm not fast tracking, maybe I won't hire 4 or 5 people because I'll save some money if I do them one at a time, but I do so at the expense of taking longer to get it listed on Amazon. And then generating the shipping label is super duper easy. Again, with all the resources we have available to you and how to do that, you can find that either in the Seller Central forums or in one of the files on the follow along guides in our members portal or in the Facebook group or any number one of places. This isn't like proprietary information. This is freely available anywhere and everywhere, so I'm not going to cover it here. You can find the answer for that when it's time. Listing your product. Now this is nonlinear. I will often, if I really like the product and I have good prospects from multiple suppliers to list the product, I will start writing my product listing, quote unquote, before it ever arrives on Amazon. Before I even have a supplier, right? I'll start writing my title, I'll start writing my bullet points, I'll start writing my product description. I might even start working on some images potentially if that can make sense. Because if I'm doing like a letter from the owner image, I can write that regardless of what product that I sell, right? If I'm doing like a coupon image, I can create that one and slightly modify it when the time comes to make it to whatever product that I have, right? So this is being proactive, this is being nonlinear. I am simultaneously writing a listing for a product that I don't even know if I have a supplier yet, just so I can get that done in advance instead of saying, well, let me get a product first, then let me find a supplier, then let me order the inventory, then let me list it. Don't be linear. Try to do all these things together. When one is in lull, the other one is in action. When that one can't be moved forward any further for now, then we go back to a different one, right? So on and so forth. And then the last step, the simple one, is promote it. Now here's the funny thing about this. I have so many promotion techniques, it's not even funny. And one of the things that we ran into during pre-launch is people say, oh my God, there's too much stuff here. And I kind of sigh. I say, would you rather I give you too much or too little? I think too much is the way to err if we're going to err on one side or the other. here's what I want you to do. First and foremost, when promotion starts to make sense for you, which will be slightly after you put in connection or inquiries into suppliers, start already considering promoting. Say you pick 3 or 4 products that you could potentially private label, and then you push it out there and you contact some suppliers for these 3 or 4 products. While you're waiting for the responses, start saying, what are the promotion methods that make sense for product A, product B, product C, product D, right? And then list all those. And so then when it comes time to pull the trigger on one of those products, you say, these seem to be the 4 smartest ones for this product. So familiarize yourself with all the resources available to you in the Facebook group, in the members portal, and so on and so forth, just to know what is available to you. Then for each product that you're considering, pick the ones that you think would make sense to do. And then once the product is selected, you already have your list of promotional things to go for that product. Then try them, see what happens, and adjust. Maybe you add different promotion strategies to the initial ones to augment them. Maybe you replace some of the ones that didn't work out with some better ones. Maybe you just do more of the same, right? But the thing is, too, you can promote before the product exists. So if I know, for example, I'm going to be selling a bamboo cutting board, and I'm waiting for the lead time from China, which is 10 days, to get to Amazon, which will then take another 3 to 5 days to check it in from Amazon, right? What's stopping me from doing Facebook advertising today, saying, hey, coming soon, a bamboo cutting board. If you'd like to get on our priority customer list for when it's released, you're going to get a massive discount. Go here for more information. There's not a single damn thing in the world that's stopping me from doing that in advance. But here's what 99.9% of people do. They wait till the product gets listed on Amazon. Then they start to promote it. Now, it is linear. That's smart in the sense of it's very logical if we're doing it step by step. But success in ASM is non-linear. So we can start doing promotion even before the product arrives on Amazon. If we're picking between 5 different products that are all in kitchen and dining, then I can still do promotion even before my product is selected, even before my suppliers get back to me, right? So it's just all a matter of approach on how quickly do you want to succeed. You can succeed extremely quickly, but you got to take all of these things into consideration. So here again, just to summarize it here, the most important thing is to realize that not that you can avoid speed bumps, but how to react to them. Always think solutions. As soon as something comes up, say, how can I solve this? If you need help, when you ask for help, propose 3 potential solutions. Understand that it's easier to make things right than it is to make the right decision. Always be moving forward. Success is nonlinear in this business. Not everybody needs to fast track, so consider the context involved for whether fast track makes the most sense for you or not. Be familiar with what's available to you. Doesn't mean you know everything about everything that's available to you, the ins and outs of it, but at least you know what's available to you. So when the time comes to use a certain asset, you know that asset exists. And these are the 3 places I would start. Implementation, at the end of the day, success revolves around simplicity. Pick a product, find a supplier, order inventory, list your product, and promote it. Again, these don't have to be done in order. A lot of these things can be done simultaneously. I do some of this, and while I'm waiting for something to happen, and I do some of this over here, so I'm always moving forward. This is good practice for you, whatever path you take, and then you just have to be even more focused on all of this stuff if you're going with super duper fast track success. There you have it. Take that for what it's worth. Use what makes most sense for you based on your approach and based on what resonates with you to help you move forward. And I look forward to speaking with you again here very shortly.